a tongue lashing, and then he disappears after the midterm election.
I want to bring in some reporting just for a second here. This is a source familiar with the matter is telling Fox News right now that Rod Rosenstein has not resigned and he has not been fired, that he's going to be attending a previously scheduled Principals Committee meeting at the White House at noon in place of Attorney General Sessions, who is in the air on his way back to Washington from Alabama. There were discussions over the weekend between Rosenstein and, of course, White House Chief of Staff Kelly about the possibility of him resigning. However, the source familiar with the talks tells Fox News that Rosenstein did not actually offer to resign. Rather, there were discussions about a possibility.
Well, that's interesting then. If you look at the Axios reporting, this came from Jonathan Swan originally, where he said that Rod Rosenstein had given a verbal resignation to Chief of Staff John Kelly. Then that was disputed by NBC News and Pete Williams, who's down there. So we do have a bit of a runaround here. It would make more sense just when you see the amount of pressure on the president to leave the Mueller investigation alone. You see public support shifting towards that, and for Rod Rosenstein and Jeff Sessions in the latest Fox News poll, that he wouldn't actually be firing Rod Rosenstein right now or even necessarily welcoming a resignation a few weeks out from the midterm election.
No, it really gives more credence to the other plot. But if it's really trying to get the president ginned up.
If it really is nothing to see here, he was here for a previously scheduled meeting. Someone blew the dog whistle. And there's a reason that all those cameras are trained on the White House right now. And perhaps it's because what is the one thing we're not talking about right now? We are waiting with bated breath to see what happens to Rod Rosenstein and to learn of his fate. We are not talking about Judge Brett Kavanaugh.
Well, we will in like 5 minutes, I hope.
Now, that's
Kennedy, a really interesting point.
It's so interesting because Kennedy is never. You're just never afraid to go there. and I mean, that would be rather conspiratorial, wouldn't it?
I don't think it's conspiratorial. It's just looking to see how this White House is operated and how the press responds to what the White House is doing. And, you know, this White House, it always seems to thrive in chaos.
It's a long-used tactic by President Trump. He can change the news cycle with a snap of his finger.
He's very good
or
at that.
with a single tweet.
But this accomplishes something else, too, because, I mean, it is also helpful if you were trying to test the waters for the timing of doing something. I mean, I don't know many people who think inside the Beltway or out, that I've talked with at least, that Jeff Sessions isn't going to exit at some point. Right? And probably after the midterms. And what I was just saying is, well, you could also look to do that with Rod Rosenstein if, in fact, you had those conflicts of interest, which Catherine Herridge copiously laid out. And then you have this New York Times article, which the New York Times is not backing down. And it's kind of a he said, they said type of situation in terms of whether or not Rosenstein was willing to wear a wire to give information to people who'd want to kick the president out of the White House. I mean, so if you're looking at a timing to do something, this is also accomplishing what? A trial balloon. Let's see how everybody reacts within my own camp.
And they're not reacting as negatively to the idea of Rosenstein being out as they are to Sessions.
They're not. They're not. Because of those conflicts of interest, perhaps. And